room, we have a cross-section of entrepreneurs, creators, founders, young professionals, actively building and growing their personal brands and personal careers. And with VentureStack, what we do is to bridge the gap between industry leaders and the next generation of builders, right? And so we are here to gain insight and draw inspiration from your journey. You've had the opportunity to experience the creative landscape in Nigeria, from the 80s to the 90s to the early 2000s. And since then, you have actively contributed to making the economy what it is today, right? We're at the point where even the federal government has brought the creative economy mainstream, and the target is by 2030, they intend to achieve $100 billion contribution to GDP. Before today, right, or before what we have now, creators and the creative economy, it was never mainstream. There was not that much focus. So what helped you to persist and build in that space? And can you give us a background to defining moments that shaped your journey to what it is today?
I think for many creators who've been in this industry for about 20 years, they would say that it wasn't even, we didn't think about it as we're creatives or an economy. It was just that people had a talent, people felt it was a passion, and they were committed to their talent and their passion. Committed enough to go through a season of drought, committed enough to go through a season where people didn't take it seriously, and all they just wanted to do was to create. I remember as a 13-year-old scaling school to go to rehearsals, to go and dance and sing and act. I remember spending my weekends going from audition to audition, location to location, trying to be an actor in the early phase of my life. Walking from my house in Sule. Anybody lives in Sule or lived? Lived, okay, great. I remember walking from my house off Adelabu to Adetola. Adetola, so in the early days of Nollywood, Adetola, Kilo, Oduduwa, there were those key places where Nollywood was really, Aguda with Teko Benson, So I remember all of those times walking, just trying to get into this film industry as an actor. And so for all of us at the time, we just wanted to create. We just enjoyed it. And it was a season where it took a bit of defiance for you to want to be in the creative sector. Particularly because the industry was not mature enough to make you the kind of money that maybe will take it seriously. Ultimately, society respects money or status, ultimately. And the reason why many of our parents wanted us to be doctors and lawyers is that automatically there was something, that had a level of status.
Yes.
My son is doctor,
yes,
engineer, lawyer. Yeah. So there was a level of respect, that came with those professions. But the creators were seen as dancers, no future, just parading yourself on their own way. Oh, I was a model at some point. I've done quite a bit of things.
Yes.
So it took just that, commitment to a sector. Now, for me, I have always believed that talent is the currency of the young people from my time. I've always believed that talent was our way out of poverty, was our way into economic prosperity. Be it tech talent as inventors, creators, software engineers, whatever it is, be it in acting, in music, in film. So as far back as 2010, we were running acting classes in our office in Sule called Light Camera Action. We were training presenters. There's a girl called Adenike who is a filmmaker now. She's in Canada now. Anyone knows her, Adenike? She's a presenter. You know her, yeah. She's one of the people that come to mind who learned presenting from our school at the time. Who knows Emmanuel Eleke? Anybody?
No,
The
yes.
first time Emmanuel Eleke picked a camera was in our training ground. We had a training for photographers. Who knows Bayo Mobogewo, who was a photographer to the president, who we also hired him for the president. Same thing. We trained him in photography. And so as far back as, 15 years ago, we've been keen on helping young people build their talent because we understood that the world at the time seemed like it didn't give a chance to young people. And so young people needed to find kindred spirits, people like themselves, who will bring them together and say to them, you're okay. That feeling of creating, that whatever it is you want to do in the creative sector, it's valid. And there is nothing more beautiful than someone telling you your dreams are valid.
Absolutely.
And so that was a role we kind of played, in all these years. And it's gratifying now to see that 20-something years after, we're now being bandied around on that creative economy, and the future and all of that, But I think the quick lesson here is that it takes the work of some other people.
Absolutely.
And you can be those people. Because it took the work of some of us. It took the work of several other believers at the time, who were creating platforms to validate young people. We created the Future Awards 20 years ago. The Future Awards was a platform we used in validating young talents beyond the trainings. So we created these awards that celebrated young entrepreneurs who were in fashion, who were editing films, who were producing. We had for agriculture, advocacy. We said, how do we want to see the world? And we created all the different categories that we thought could shape the world, from education to advocacy to health, and then of course a lot of the creative sector. And we wanted people to respect young people. That was key for us. So at the time, I remember that we actively tried to change the word hustler to entrepreneur. We're telling young people, you're not hustlers, you're entrepreneurs. Because there's a way, you see, in my place, they say, Orukoni Rori, your name has a way of telling your destiny. And so there's a way you call yourself a hustler, that you begin to just hustle and
Imbibe that
be
spirit.
in that poverty of, everything must be hard and tough. But when you call yourself an entrepreneur, there is something that happens to you that makes you see yourself bigger and opens your vision. We told the tailors, you're not tailor, you're a fashion designer. So when we're recognizing people like Hypno, Sojo, who were t-shirt makers at the time, you know what it is to make t-shirts, go and print a t-shirt. People just give it to you, 100 naira, I your t-shirt. But all of a sudden, these guys are award nominees. And they're thinking, okay, this is big. How do I make this into a product? How do I make this into bigger than what it is? And so the lesson I was trying to pass across to you is that whatever it is you're doing today, the question you might ask yourself is that in 20 years' time, because I can sit and be gratified to say that the work I did for 20 years, I can see the result.
The fruits.
When we started, the Future was in 2005. By 2010, we were going through a phase in Nigeria. I don't know if many of you know that phase. We didn't have a president in 2010. We had a president who was either sick, dead, alive. We didn't know where he was. The National Assembly had refused to make the vice president then the acting president. And so, Jos was in crisis. Power cuts across the country. Fuel price. Schools were out of session. It was total mess. And at that time, Wole Soyinka, Tunde Bakare and co were leading marches in Abuja, Save Nigeria group. I don't know if you know that group. Amazing elderly men. Now, we had done the Future almost for 5 years. And we had told young people that don't wait for government. You can be something on your own. Chase your dreams. And they were already doing that. For government to just get out of the way and let them continue to thrive, you say no. So we thought to ourselves, if we have made promises to young people to become somebody, we cannot sit down and fold our arms and watch government come and truncate that. So we went to meet Save Nigeria Group and said, we would like to join your march because we cannot also as young people be sitting down and watch. It is something you're Wole Soyinka, Tunde Bakare, leading marches. And the future is ours. So we were in a meeting one day, at the Future Awards meeting, where my business partner Trude said, where's the outrage? The outrage cannot be on Twitter, because at the time, young people were also keypad bloggers. They were completely on Twitter. So we said, okay, we'll do a march. So we went to meet the Save Nigeria group. And in typical fashion of what we've been fighting all our lives, respect for young people, they said, oh yeah, come. We need people to carry the drums, the DJ, the entertainment. We said, no, that's not why we're here. We need to lead the march with you. This is our future. In actual fact, it's not yours. 15 years ago, I was 24 years old. It's my future, more my future than yours. Because you are 60, 80. You barely have another 20 years. I still have, at that time, about 60 more years of my life. If God gives me long life, 80. So, he said, come and drum. And we said, no. That's what we'll be fighting all our lives. Every year after the Future Awards, we will take our winners to government officials. We'll take them on TV. We'll take them to meet business leaders looking for opportunities. I remember Antiobi giving Larry Lawal a job immediately in our ministry. At the time, I said, whoa, Antiobi was the Minister of Education at the time. So they have these brilliant young people. Immediately, you come and do my IT. You come and solve this immediately. And that was the idea. Our platforms at the time was what brought young people closer to business leaders, government, diplomatic community. So, we said we're going to start do our own march. And so we formed something called Enough is Enough in 2010. So we had a march. I remember going to Abuja for 2 weeks to go and coordinate the march, picked up by SSS. In usual government fashion, they were running adverts on radio saying some rich men children, some people have been paid by rich men to come and disrupt, don't join them, blah, 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 blah. We went ahead to do the march. I'll leave all the details in the middle. That morning, we were about 50. By the end of the march, we were about 3,000. We had invited CNN, BBC, the works. They didn't come. Only channels came. By the time we used Twitter, and Enough is Enough was trending, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Top 5 trends globally, not in Nigeria, not in Africa, globally. Erobani from CNN was on the phone. Femi Oke from Majazi was on the phone. Everybody were on the phone. Then suddenly, the guys in National Assembly started calling us. Oh, why are you embarrassing your country on global TV? But we've been sitting on the floor for 4 hours. You didn't answer us. We did that. And what is gratifying is that our goal when we started the Future was 20 years ago, was that in 20 years' time, we wanted young Nigerians, alumni of the Future Awards, friends of the Future Awards, to be running for office, to be ministers, to be DGs, to be the ones shaping the future of our country. We wanted young people to pay active participation in government. Before we had Enough is Enough in 2010, 20 years before that, there was something called concerned professionals. You might not know it. Anybody knows concerned professionals? It was led by the likes of Dr. B. Ezekwesili, Professor Pato Tommy, and they were also holding government accountable. 20 years after that, we did the Enough is Enough. 10 years after Enough is Enough, do you know what happened? Who knows? NSAS. People don't chronicle these stories. They don't understand that something begets another thing. That the thing you're doing now, you're doing today. The question you must be asking yourself is that what is it going to burn in 5 years, in 10 years? How is it going to cause a generational shift? And you might not be able to do it on your own. So maybe you're part of something. Because Debbie, for example, was part of Enough is Enough 15 years ago. So she can sit today and look back and say something I was a part of shaped the journey. Today in Nigerian government, you like it or not, in my awareness, I might be wrong, but this government currently has the most amount of young people who are in their 30s, who are in their early 40s, in positions as DGs, some of them as ministers, that I've seen in a long time in this country. Obasanjo had them. I don't know how the volume, but between then and now, the most that I know, that I can bear witness to, and I stand to be corrected, but this government actually has them. And I say to myself all the time, we complain about government all the time, this, that, but we are actually already in power. We complain about government all the time, but maybe the second lesson, which I was going to share as we talk about creativity, is that, Africa has problems.
let your creativity lead you to solve big problems. Stop thinking small. Stop thinking about you. Stop thinking about your sustenance and your survival. Think about what is big, what can make massive impact across the country, across the continent. And these are things that we did. And they might not give you credit for it. Doesn't matter. Because, for example, the concerned professionals will never think that one day I will be going about saying that they were the ones that gave birth to Enough is Enough. And the young people who led NSAS would not say that they had that courage because somebody did Enough is Enough 10 years before. Because somebody showed action, how to move from ideas to action. So as creators, but regardless of the sector that you're creating in, the first thing you want to think about is, what is the problem this is going to solve? And ultimately, I'm sure those of you who are advancing your businesses would know that people only pay for solutions. And solutions can be tangible and intangible. Intangible can be that you're solving my sadness problem. You're making me happy. So people consume Sabinus and consume Brother Shaggy. And those guys are making their $1, and in a month they're getting 100K, 200K, because they're solving the problem of humor and happiness. So whatever it is you're doing, as actors, many years ago, trying to be actors, now today, actors are commanding a decent amount of money, not great enough. The global creative economy is worth 3 trillion. We barely get 2 to 3% of that. So there's still so much left on the table. But if you focus on solving big problems that the continent needs to solve, then we'll begin to have a conversation. Let me give back to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And Iman, please put your hands together. As a follow-up, a bit of research actually indicated that you created a 20-year vision. And I think that's very instructive. There are not many people who have that discipline, right? To sit down and say, okay, over the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, this is where I want to be. And so at the core of creativity is ideation and storytelling. For you, at that time, and I'm saying this because a lot of creatives connect the dots backwards. I take my first step, okay, let me take the next step. Your own case, you were able to draw pretty much the 20 years roadmap. So can you give us some insight into how to do that? How to pretty much craft a roadmap long term, right? Because that is something that is very instructive to your journey.
As much as you make it sound like something that requires a thesis, it was actually a simple thing. We just said, this is where we want to be in 20 years. It's actually that simple. It's actually that simple. You just need to say to yourself, this thing I'm creating today, how big, how bold, how far, how wide do I want it to go? So I've always believed in walking back. You set the goal, then every step you take today is leading you to that goal. As creators, do not focus on what is in your hands. Focus on what is in your hands can and will be. When you get a seed, you did not pick that seed because you wanted a seed. You picked that seed because you were trying to plant a coconut tree. So when they talk about vision boards, a simple vision board is just to put that coconut tree, bam, which is 20 years is what I want to be, 50 years is where I'm going, whatever it is, just pick that thing and put it. Let's not complicate it. Do not complicate this. You want to start something. You take a seed, but the seed must grow into something. What do you see? When you figure out what it is you see, then you know how much, first of all, you know the kind of soil you need to plant it on. If it's a temporary thing and the soil you have is, what are those soil? Humus?
Loamy soil.
Loamy.
Sandy soil.
So, if, for example, you had a humus soil around you or loamy soil and the seed would grow better in another kind of soil, because you know where you're going, you can decide, okay, I'm going to take a risk and plant this in this loamy soil. But I need to do double the work. Because the soil I'm planting it in is, I can't move. I'm stuck. But I need to do double the work to get it to grow. So how much water do I need? Where do I find the irrigation? How much sunshine do I need? Do I need sunshine 24 hours, meaning that when the sun is over for the day, do I need to find some reflector, something to bounce light on it because I'm planted in the wrong soil? Or you say, you know what? This idea needs another soil. Let me pack my bag and move. Because you want to plant a coconut tree and not corn. That will come quickly, you harvest and turn around. I need manure. Because this place I planted doesn't have enough nutrients. And I like to talk about manure. You know what manure is made from? Call it, say it. No, say the shit. And I tell people shit is good. Shit is what people give you when you're trying to build. Shit is you calling the person you think is your guy, but they stop picking up your call. Shit is you going to that office and they keep you there for so long, they walk over, they don't answer you, they ignore you. You send several emails, no one answers you, you feel like shit, you feel so bad. But shit is good because shit is manure. Manure helps the plant grow. In the season of planting, there's many hardships that come with it. And sometimes I demonstrate it with a classic case of how you go into the soil. First, you need to clear the soil. You have to bend your back for long hours. So the building of anything comes with pain, comes with resilience. That's why we respect entrepreneurs and creators and makers. But it's just that it would be a shame for you to be going through all of that and building something so small. The stress is not worth it. Got to build big. Africa is looking for solvers. So you bend your back to clear the soil. After you clear the soil, you till the land to plant the seed. You're still bending your back. Then you come out in the sun every time to clear the weed around it. Then you have to now get water and wet it. You have to now get manure and put it. So you're always bent. You're in the sun. You're holding manure in your hand. There's no shit anybody that can give you in this life. You're holding manure. You're smelling it. You go home, say, it smell like shit. But then after a while, the thing sprouts. And it sprouts. As it's sprouting, can you see my back is going higher? And it's sprouting. So the things you're doing now doesn't require as much work as before. When you water it now, you can still bend to put manure, but it sprouts, you water it this way, you care for it to trim it, it grows, and it grows higher and higher and higher. And after a while, it becomes a full tree that has branches and trees, and you pluck your fruit. You sit under the shade, it covers you. Somebody will come and say, this one is enjoying it. They don't know where you've come from.
Yes.
But guess what? That process doesn't finish. Because you're going to plant other things. But the beauty is that when you're planting other things, the experience from here and the fruits from here makes it easier.
Yes.
So don't be afraid of the journey of building. I like to tell people, I say, don't be afraid of being in the backstage. What you should be scared of is when the curtain opens and you're not ready. Because you see, my friends, the curtain will open. But what you do in the time in the backstage, the building you're building, the rehearsal you're rehearsing, whatever it is you do, because nobody comes on stage and starts rehearsing. You rehearse in the back.
Yes.
So your time in the back, your time under the sun, your time with the manure is a preparation for your announcement. So don't be afraid of building.
Right. Thank you so much. I was about to say, right on, Pastor. With the work that has been done over the last 20 years and beyond. And so we would also like to get your perspective because you have actively contributed to what the Nigerian creative economy and the creative sector is today. So can you just give us a bit of a background? What were those defining moments that allowed you or inspired you to persist in this economy, bringing it to what it is today?
I believe in doing, and I believe that if we don't have something, so the whole idea of being a designer is you're solving problems. So for instance, everything that I've created has been based on there's a problem and it needs to be solved. A lot of, when I hear people say, so I talk to a lot of young designers today, and I hear them say, oh, the economy, there are no jobs. Everything from the Interior Designers Association of Nigeria to Design Week Lagos to the Made by Design show has been, oh, we don't have it, let's do it. And so I think we're in a fantastic environment, an environment where things don't work. So that means you have
Immense
the ability to make it work. And you have the ability to impact lives. So everything that I do is based on let's impact lives. A few years ago, I came up with a directory. The directory is the Interior Design Buyer's Guide that had over 5,000 listings. Let me tell you how I started that. I found out that people would just call me randomly. I'm looking for where I can get XYZ, and I will be giving them. And then I went to Dubai, and there was a guy like Adebola who said, make sure you charge for a service that you are meeting. And I hear many people say, oh, I just love it, I'll do it even if I'm not being paid. But I came back and I thought, you know what, let me come up with a directory that people can find what they're looking for. Because Lagos, Nigeria, as a whole, is design hell. Have you tried looking for things? So you can say, oh, I'm looking for, let me give you an example. I'm looking for pillows, throw pillows, just even throw pillows. I mean, now with Instagram, it's good, but it's hit or miss. So you can buy it and you are ruined, or you can buy it and it can work. And that's dangerous if you're working on a client's project, because you cannot do hit or miss. It has to work. So discovering the different people that do different things was a need that I was meeting. And even though it was my own personal need, I was being paid for it. So I did the directory, and I charged everybody that I put their adverts in the directory. We had over 100 adverts, by the way. And then I also charged the people that bought the directory, because it became a guide for architects, real estate developers, where you'd look and say, who are the people doing tiles? And you see all the tiling companies, you see all the paint companies, you see everything. That was a need being met. So I'll say that we're in a fantastic environment where you can actually make an impact. If you're in the UK, that's why some people, our brothers in the UK, Dubai, I mean, different places, they're almost not significant, except you are now doing something really, really amazing, but they have people that are doing it 50 times better than you. So you have to be offering something that the world needs. So I think that we're living in a very, very good time.
I had asked Adebola earlier about how the dots connected for him, and in his case, they had already planted a 20-year milestone, right? In your case, did the dots connect forward or backwards? Because from Design Week Lagos to Africa Culture and Design Festival to IDAN, all of those, was it with each step, like you mentioned, you felt the need and then you solved that problem?
Have you heard the write the vision and make it plain so that,
yes.
yeah. So when I have an idea, I write it down. The African Culture and Design Festival was something that I had an idea of doing, an art and design. In fact, it wasn't art and design, it was just an art festival like Festac. And I had that idea in 2000. And I went to South Africa, met a guy called MK Malifani. We're meant to do it together, but the guy was now telling me Mother Idia was calling him. So I ran away. I was like, I just want to do exhibition. I'm not going that far. But I wrote it down, and then in 2016, we won the bid to host the World Design Congress. And when we won the bid, I had a conversation with a lady called BC Silva, and I was saying, I'm trying to raise money. And she said, what do you have in your hands? I mean, I have many things, by the way. I'm a visionary, so I'm always having great ideas, like, hey, I have this idea. And I said, there's this art thing, and I also want to put design. And she said, Ambode is funding art. And that's how we brought 110 nations to Nigeria. Did this congress, but the main thing was the exhibition. And it was based on a dream that I had many years ago. But when it was time, I was able to pull that my card. And I found that with me, there are many things that I've done like that. In fact, there's some things I'm doing now today that has been, I want to do a design center, and time and chance. So I'm talking to someone and they're like, I have this property. I'm like, let's do it. I have this vision. Make sure your vision is clear. Develop your vision. Write your concept notes. I'm constantly writing. I'm constantly just even developing it further. Sometimes I will even travel. I will now see the Igbo people's one. I'll say, I will add this one to my idea. Take it, add it, develop it. Sometimes I will check. And with ChatGPT, in fact, I don't use ChatGPT the way many people use ChatGPT. ChatGPT for me is a research tool. So this is how I use ChatGPT now. That's why now I'm sure I can do many things better than I could do then. I would say, I'm trying to build a manufacturing hub. This is how I use ChatGPT. ChatGPT will just general one. And I'm like, no. Because I know my craft, I like the Vitra model. ChatGPT will bring to the Vitra. I will say, yes, but this is not what I want. How do the designers, the designer manufacturer collaboration, how does it work? ChatGPT will tell me, and I'm like, sure. Understand your craft. Anything you want to do it in a way that you know it back to back. Because that thing, when it's time and you are presenting in front of investors, they'll even be like, but they don't know that you have researched it over the years. So that has been one of the things that has helped me understanding every single thing that I do, that if you wake me up in my sleep, and some things were ideas that I had like 20 years ago, a long time ago, but when it was time, I was able to birth it. And make sure that you are good at what you do. Do you know there are some things, some ideas that I've given people, I've even charged them. There was one I said, I'll take you people to the big screens. Made by Design on Netflix. How did I do that? COVID, we're at home, I'm bored. By the way, I can't be bored because I can die if I'm bored. Like, what can I do? No exhibition, I'm at home. Why? I can't go to do my design. And I just said documentary. Made by Design. In my mind, documentary was DSTV because I'm not a TV person like that. I do more social media. Anyway, so this is how I started. I started researching it. I'm going to do this documentary. By the way, I'd never done a documentary before. Did the whole thing. Called my friend TY. TY, can you introduce me to someone that does film? And then I started working on it. And then I put DSTV logo. And when I put the logo, I now told my industry people, because they trust me, because they know I'll deliver, I said, I'll take you people to the big screens. I'll make you all great. And then they believed me. And then I now started. And then I charged them for it. I didn't even know the budget to do a film. Like, I'm charging you to make you great. And then I did the whole thing. After I started working on the project, just the whole ideation, not like I'm really One day my daughter was watching Netflix and I preferred the Netflix logo. I was like, this logo is brighter. And I just took it and took the Netflix logo and replaced it. This is where time and chance comes in. A guy called Dr. Foy brought some Netflix people to my house, and I started telling them why I don't watch Netflix, because there's nothing for us here. And I said, by the way, I'm working on a documentary. Don't forget, it's still in paper form.
Yes.
And I'm like, I'm working on a documentary. And because they had sold me, she's published 27 books, she's done this, that. So it was easy. They were like, oh, we want it. Netflix took the documentary without seeing it.
Wow.
And so I started, and I was like, hey, Jesus, Lord, don't fold my hand. I now started researching, and the people I promised to take to the big screens, I saw that they wouldn't work for this model. So I changed the model, and I just took designers that didn't have money, but they had good stories. And so that's how I did that. And then the people that I promised to take to the big screens, I'm still taking them to the big screens.
Fantastic. Please put your hands together for that. Yeah. Adebola said earlier, when the curtains open, just make sure that you are ready. Okay. So talking about monetization, with platforms across the board, monetization is embedded into impressions, views, clicks, streams, and all of that. And a lot of creators are making good money, right? However, it has resulted in content, good content, bad content, and downright ugly content. I would like you to share your perspective on creating with purpose and balancing short-term gains. Yes, we need to survive, right? But also long-term impact, value, and change. Please go ahead with that, Titi.
On Instagram, everybody's doing master classes. And people are beginning to find out the people that are fluff, even though when they started, it was great. And people would say, you know what? So if Adebola was to organize a masterclass and charge $5,000, I probably will pay for that. Some of those masterclasses, view online, you see 3 people, their uncle, brother, and sister. Most people are not paying like that anymore. When it started, because of branding and all the whole, people jumped at it. But now, because you've created a platform where everybody now has a voice, so it's easy for you to find the ones that are fake. Right? And that's what I've found. I'm just sharing my own experience. Even in my industry, there were some people that, like after COVID, they were doing masterclasses and people were actually paying. And now, I joined one, they even put it there, 25K. They were like 5 people. The money had dropped. This is the same person that did something like in 2021 and charged 250K.
Wow.
You know why? Because the world is now like this, that for the same thing you are doing, a qualified person in India would do that master class and put it same online. And because we're now in a global village, people will now tag that thing and say, oh, join this if you want to learn XYZ. So what I would advise, I meant to advise. What I would advise is what I said, know your craft.
Yeah.
Made by Design Season 1, I did myself. Season 2 and 3, I had to get experts because I learned from it. Because while it was good, when people said, oh, they are cheating us in Africa, I had to say, no, you can't compare apples to apples. You have to compare apples to apples. You can't now compare. So I've done a design documentary. Meanwhile, you have the people that worked on, There's one called Abstract. It's a design one. And the guys that did Abstract, they took so much time. They developed it. In Nigeria, we don't develop anything. Like, for me to tell you I've done 27 books. I met one guy that said, I'm still working on one book. 15 years. I said, 15 years? What's inside the book? Write it. But the difference between my books and that guy is that the guy has sold 2 million copies. And I've sold less than 5,000 copies. That's the difference. Understand what you are selling. Make it such good quality that people will sell and people will buy what you're doing. You can see track record. And the track record I used, Adebola, is he has helped presidents get seats from branding. So if I'm going to come to him, the only thing is I will use the fact that, brother, hello, help your sister, and he will support me. But I trust what I will get.
Yes.
So I would say develop, and he didn't do it one day, Abi? Did he do it one day? He did it consistently to the point where he enters a country and they open the doors for him. So we need to make sure, okay, let me see you people, because me I've entered. Need to make sure that you understand your craft very well. You can sell it, and you can sell it well. And when you're speaking, people trust what you're saying. So please, don't do those master classes. They are going to catch you.
Adebola, could you share your thoughts, please?
I think creativity is nothing without distribution. Creativity is only half of the equation. Distribution and monetization complete it. But in a world where there is so much clutter and the values that are currently shaping our world now, many of you in your innermost self are not happy with it. I think what might be important is to ensure that what you're creating is adding value. We have too many growing pains in our countries, on the continent, that we can find the creativity to do humor, but humor that teaches. You know, to focus on shaping and building the country. All my life, when I was 9 years old, I wanted to be an actor. Because I thought that film was the way with which you shape the world. If you remember in that era, when you watch a film, then somebody will be punished for the evil they've done, then there's an evil man, and then light will win. Even in Abija, Warabie, Kwanobori, Lemosho, the good will overturn evil. So that was my first understanding of the power of the media to shape the world. And that's why I wanted to be an actor. I didn't want to be an actor because I particularly thought that acting was all I could be, or I was hung up and dying. No. I wanted to be an actor because I wanted to shape the world in a certain way. When acting didn't work, I succeeded as a stage actor. In actual fact, I did a major play for Obasanjo in 2000. That's 25 years ago at the National Theatre. I got awards from that play. But I couldn't break onto television. And I also didn't just want to act on stage to a room. I wanted mass media. So I moved into TV presenting, because you must understand your purpose. He asked about purpose, purposeful creation. Now, I understood my purpose. My purpose was to shape the world with the values that I carry. So I pivot into television presenting, because what was I looking for? Mass media. So I needed to be on the big screen. Now, what was my manure and my son in that time? It was that I was given a TV show on NTA, myself and my partner at the time, God rest her soul, Emilia Simita, a 2 a.m. belt on NTA. What that meant was that we would leave Suele at 10 p.m., get to NTA at 11 p.m., and sleep on the cold, hard floors until 1:30. Then wake up, wash our face, change into our outfit, go on TV from 2 to 3 or 3:30. Then we go back and sleep on the floor, and at 5 a.m. we start going home. We were not paid a kobo. We were doing it because we wanted a platform. But we did it so good that 6 months in, they actually started paying us money. And I learned my first money lesson. So they're paying us. We realized that we had become popular because it was a midnight show. But those were the days where people were actually up at midnight watching television, because television was beginning to be 24 hours and all of that. But not just that. NTN, all-night calls, and so on and so forth. So we're walking on the street and people recognize us. I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. But that's not the story. They paid us, I think, 2,000 per week. So it came to either 8,000 per month or 2,000. I'm not sure what it was. I'm a celebrity and I need to enter taxi. I can't enter bus anymore. After I entered taxi 2 times, the money finished, I was back to bus. I didn't have the money. I didn't have taxi. That was my first money lesson. You don't spend as you earn. Yeah. But coming back to purpose. Purpose led me to pivot. And purpose has led me all of these years. But more importantly, why do you want to distribute? Because you want to make money, right? We haven't made money per se from the things that we have done for purpose. In actual fact, I have a problem. When I think of an idea first, the idea is always about impact first. I have to pinch myself. Okay, how will you sustain this thing? You use your money, okay, and then what? I'm doing a center at the moment, and my first focus is impact. But my friends ask me, but you need to monetize somehow. So we've come up with a monetization strategy. Where we found money was the fact that along the line, when people saw the power of our impact projects, then organizations came to us and said, can you replicate that thing you've done here for my company? That is how we started our PR firm. We were selling hope to young people through the Future Awards. We're convening the largest gatherings of young people. And then Zane came. We have, I forgot the name of this online, this is their app. We want to promote it, help us. This same Zane, I had chased them 5 years before to give me their marketing campaign. In actual fact, myself and Emilia, we did the whole advert for V-Mobile. They were V-Mobile at the time. We did the whole advert at Lescal, shot it, presented it to them. They didn't work. But as usual, later we saw something, they stole our idea. But for 5 years on, they came by themselves and said, come and replicate your magic. Then Nigerian bureaus came. Then this bank came. So our PR company picked up because of the impact work that we're doing. Even the work that we eventually began to do in governance communication, it picked up because of all the work we were doing, creating platforms for young people to engage with government. So we understood how it worked, and that was how the company was born. So sometimes, when you're chasing purpose, it can sound not very sexy or not very rewarding financially. But the game sometimes is staying at it. When you stay long enough, the universe conspires and brings you opportunities.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. A quick follow-up to that. You talked about you have found the answer to monetizing for the center. Of course, I know you're not going to tell us what the model is, but can you just open our minds to what cocktail of models, revenue models, so from content licensing to intellectual property to sponsorships to advertising, just share your thoughts as to what are the best models to apply as creatives, as creators across the board?
I think business to business, it's different what you're trying to create. But one of the things I found out, if I ask people here, so people create products, for example. Let me use our industry as an example. And sometimes they don't think it's important enough to get those products licensed. That's one. So you've created something and then anybody can just take it. In fact, Diola Sego told me a story once where she had done this, the Iran Buba. And then Instagram people were even tagging her, "We are inspired by you." And she was like, who are these people taking, and that's the market that we're living in. Also, if you can find a distribution channel, that's the best way, that's the best model. So I learned from all the books I was publishing, because I would publish a book with an event. So I'm like, oh, I'm having this, let me do in conversation with the Maswoko, and I'll publish a book. And the last book I published, I now got real publishers who now said, we will pay you. And if you can get people to pay for it, just like Netflix, or just look for a way where you give the experts to do what they can do, and then you do what you can do. And so I tell product designers today, we have a lot of product designers, furniture designers, and they want to manufacture. I'm like, why? Why do you want to manufacture? What is the model? The model is you've created a product. Let the company pay you, so you're making money and you can create a lot more. But what happens most times is that you're trying to do everything. And so most creatives are not successful because you are the one going and talking to carpenters. You're the one listening. You say, when I found one shoemaker, I'm working with him. You're the one sitting down to develop your prototypes. And you need to understand the process of whatever you're trying to create. We did an exhibition at Eco Hotel where we had not Eco Hotel, Eco Bank, in partnership with Eco Bank. It was called the Design and Innovation Exhibition. And I had all these designers, and some of them were selling prototypes. And I'm like, why are you selling that prototype? It's not even a working prototype. And I said to them, why don't you spend your money creating a mold? So your mold is what you have created, and you can take to any company and say, I have this, I have my license, I have my this, create it. Because don't try and reinvent it. Look around the world. We see how America was built by inventors, creators. That's how it was built. And today, we're all benefiting from Steve Jobs' creation, and people that created television, and the people that created whatever. I say look for the people. So your first thing when you're trying to create is, where is my distribution network?